Empty the chamber on them. And how do you do that? First 6 seconds, point A to point B, everything you got. Everything you got. Turn that shit up. Let's go.
What is good? Welcome to the Scoop World Order late night edition. It is late night. It is technically Friday. It's late Thursday night. 49ers just beat the Seahawks. Wanted to get another thing in the can. Talk a little NIL with my man TJ Downing. Talk about some of these great commits we got. JJ Smith, Lincoln Keinholz. We got some big time guys coming in. And obviously we got the Georgia Bulldogs. God, in 15 days. It'll be here before you know it. We're down to 2 weeks of prep, which seems crazy, but it's almost here. With that being said, as always, we appreciate you guys. Thank you guys so much that are joining us late night, unannounced. We're on. We're already getting a couple dozen people in the chat room. It's crazy, so I appreciate you guys. Any question you guys got, go ahead, tap it in there. Let's see what you guys got. Without further ado, bring in my boy, TJ Downing, former All-American guard. TJ, how are you tonight?
Good, man. Sporting the mohawk, bringing the look back. You know, keeping it fresh.
I love it, man. So what? How much have you followed the saga going on with NIL right now? It is the biggest hot topic in the universe for college sports. What do you know about it? What do you think about it? How would you change it?
Man, I think there's a lot of things that you can change, and for me, really, I kind of, I think a lot of people had to see this coming. I saw this coming. I mean, the first thing that I really talked about with people was that, you know, this could become a cancer within a team. You know, if you've got myself, you know, I just look back at our situation, and you know, we were fortunate. We had a guy that understood what he was doing back there, and our quarterback, and he made sure that, you know, if he was eating, we were all eating, and we all took care of each other, and we all had, you know, let's not, you know, mix words about it. We all had ways of making money if we wanted to. Um, you know, the landscape that they're living in now, you know, we kind of created that. So to say that we shouldn't have been able to deserve to get our piece too, I mean, look how many jerseys, number 10, number 7, that were flying off the shelf, you know, even stretching into your, the finale of your run with the Beanie Wells jerseys coming off the rack. I mean, you're talking hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars, not to mention just my run. It adds a second national championship game to it, but you know, I was part of 2 of them as well, and you total up 4 Fiesta Bowls and let's say the 12,500 you get from the Alamo Bowl in 2004, and you know, I mean, those 4 Fiesta Bowls alone, I believe, were in the ballpark of 12 to 15 million dollars to the university. So there's another in just 4 games. There's another 60 to 80 million dollars on top of the revenue from those bowl games, from national championship games, the memorabilia, the merchandise. So you're talking upwards of $1 billion that in our 4 to 5 years we're potentially bringing to the table for the Ohio State University. So, you know, for us to have to operate in the climate that we did compared to the ones that the guys are operating in now, I mean, it's completely different. And, you know, those guys don't have to worry about sweeping their tracks anymore. But what you've now created is an open market that will allow for people to attack your best players. And what are those players going to do? Trickle down effect to the guys sitting next to them in the locker room. If CJ Stroud is getting $500,000, if he's coming up here to Canton and he's getting the brand new Bentley truck from Sarshone Auto Gallery, whatever it may be, you know, there's a guy like Kirk Barton or TJ Downing that's sitting there on the right side of the offensive line saying, my job is just as important as yours. I'm keeping your ass protected and upright. Where's my piece of the pie? You know, if the starting quarterback is getting 25 racks a game, and you know, I mean, I've got somebody that's donating $2,500 to me, you know, there's a huge gap right there, right? And then how about taking a step further? If Kirk Barton is getting $7,500 in NIL money a game, and I'm only getting $3,500 in NIL money a game, you know, I've got a problem with that. You know, I mean, there's got to be a way to be able to balance things out on a team, and this is the part that you saw coming from the beginning. You know, what kind of cancer is that going to cause when it's basically free agency? You know, it's, hey, how much is your check? Here's how much my check is. and I'm the guy that's got to make sure that Kenny Webama or Victor Abumeri isn't breathing down your neck, ready to rip that some gun off, and you're not throwing the football anymore, right? So if you don't got the horses in front of you to protect you, or you're not taking care of the horses in front of you to protect you, if those means are there, then you're going to run into a huge issue, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's it's like how quickly do you want to expose these kids to the fair market economy? Because in the
Yeah.
NFL, when I was on practice squad, the lowest guy on the totem pole, I was still making 200 grand. So it's not like I was starving. It's like now, if you're the lowest guy on the totem pole at Ohio State, you're making zero. You could be on the same roster as CJ, and CJ is making a couple million. You're making zero. Different discrepancy. Like when you're in the league, if you're the biggest scrub now is making almost 300 grand on practice squad. So it's not a bad life. You can survive. It's literally the greatest job in the world because you work like 2 days a week. You practice twice. You have a walkthrough Friday. Don't have to go to the game or go to the game and watch and eat peanuts. And it's a great gig. So it's like, I never was mad about it, but it's part of what I'm saying. We got a couple questions here. Vito, this is a great question. TJ, I'll probably.
Corleone?
No, it's not spelled right. It's Vido. He asks, where do you think the class of 23 will end up? Is currently fourth. I assume you're maybe looking at on three. Miami, the Hurricanes passed us today, getting Samson Okunloa in the class, which is not unexpected. They've got the top 2 tackles in America going to the Miami Hurricanes. Those guys both got paid handsomely. I think we could bounce in front of them because I do think we're going to get Mateo Uiagalelei. Really, really good discussion with someone who's very, 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 very close to that recruitment. I think the Larry Johnson factor is very strong. I know Big Dave, he refers to Larry Johnson as Pastor Johnson. Big Dave used to be Larry. You remember Larry Johnson Jr. played for the Chiefs, played at Penn State in 2002. Big Dave used to bodyguard for him. And that's Larry Johnson, who's our position coach at Ohio State, the D-line coach. That's his son. So the ties are really, really deep there. I think that having JT Tuimoloau be the Polynesian All-American defensive end, start as a freshman, and then you have Mateo Uiagalelei coming right after him. JT's going to be 3 and out. I think Mateo wants to be 3 and out. He can be 3 and out. That depth chart is wide ass open after he leaves or after JT leaves after next year. I feel really good about Mateo. I just don't think that SC, even though that's Mateo's boyhood dream school, from what Bill Green told me, they're running 3rd now behind Oregon. I mean, I'm sure Oregon will back up the Brinks truck to try to get JT, but when Big Dave sees Nick Bosa and Joey Bosa and Chase Young and the litany of defensive ends. Yeah, exactly. The litany of defensive ends that Larry's put in the league. And that's just the recent Ohio State guys. That doesn't go back to Courtney Brown, Tamba Hali, Jimmy Kennedy, Michael Hayne. I mean, these are all first-round picks. Like, I'm just rattling out first-round picks because
Big Jimmy, dude.
Yeah,
People were scared of Jimmy. And then Big Rob Sims locked his ass down.
Yeah, Jimmy's a big dude. So it was okay. I appreciate. So Vito said he's short for David. So appreciate you guys, man. You guys are up late.
Dude,
any questions?
Who's my guy here?
Jay Berg,
Mr. J Lex. He's like, what did CJ's mom have to sign a permission slip for him to run the ball?
That's pretty funny. I love Jay Berg said Kirk said you have skinny legs, TJ. Well, TJ knows that. I mean, he's the one that he looks down at the shower and he's like, God, this is depressing every time he takes a shower. So he probably does wall sits while he's in the shower scrubbing his dingleberries. You still there, or you don't some? There you go. Look at those things. They don't even fit on. They're so small I can't even see them on the screen because I don't have that wide angle. Yeah,
Monster Tweety.
They thought you do look like Monster Tweety from Looney Tunes. All right, this is some good stuff. Appreciate you, Vito. It's a great question. TJ,
so the young guys that fall, or the guys that have been offered portal guys, they fall into the class of 23 by definition.
Yes, I believe. I don't know if Honestly, I don't know how that works. I think it might be based on how many years of eligibility they have left.
Okay.
But I mean, I guess you could count them in the class of 23 if they got 1 year to go.
Just consider it guys that could potentially be playing football and getting snaps for the Buckeyes next year, whether
Yeah,
it's a freshman or it's the
exactly.
guy coming in. I mean, how about these guys? These two guys that they've recently offered in the portal, Jeremiah Byers from UTEP. I mean, he's a dude that he's maybe a top 25 tackle in America last year or this year.
Yeah, yeah.
You know,
I mean,
Dylan Wade, he's a Tulsa guy. How about Coach Wilson leaving to go to Tulsa, and we're going ahead and we're offering one of his portal players. So I don't know. To me, I think when you're trying to replace potentially Paris and Dewan, um, and I believe Paris, he is not coming back. Correct? Is he declared?
oh, I mean, he doesn't have to declare. He's gone.
He's
Everyone in
gone.
the universe knows
So,
he's gone.
I mean, you're talking about potentially replacing both your starting tackles right there. I mean, that's not an easy gig to do. And I think when you look at depth on your roster, does it make sense for us is this really where the transfer portal can kind of make your bones? Because, I get it. Like, I'm drawing a blank on the kid's name, but going back to the Arkansas State game, that was a kid that was on some pretty big Power 5 teams, but had basically trickled his way down through the transfer portal to be starting at Arkansas State because he was the 2 guy or the 3 guy at a place like maybe like Bama or something. And again, don't quote me on that, but I can't remember what that kid's name was that started for Arkansas State against us this year. He had that happen for him. But I think where you really make the bones is with offensive linemen. Because you and I both know, Kirk, I mean, when you came out of Perry High School, you were not ready to start right away at The Ohio State University. When I came out of Glen Oak, in no way, shape, or form was I near ready to start for the Ohio State Buckeyes. So it's a rarity when you find a guy like Rob Sims, who we just talked about, who locked down a guy like Jimmy Kennedy when he was just a young freshman. And that really catapulted his career. He started for us against the Miami Hurricanes as a true freshman in the national championship game. He would come back after that year, and he would end up really over the next 4 years being our most consistent lineman outside of a guy like Nick Mangold when he took his starting role. So for me, you just don't find dudes at like the 3 tech spot, nose guard spot, offensive guard, tackle, center spot that are capable of coming in and starting right away. So go look in the transfer portal at a cat that maybe had 12 or 13 starts at UTEP, and I'd rather roll my chances of starting that guy at tackle next year compared to, let's say, again, it's late night, I'm drawing a blank, but my guy from St. Clairsville, the big fella, is he ready yet? Avery. Is
Yeah.
Avery, somebody like that.
Avery Henry. Yeah. Yeah, I mean it's hard, but I mean these guys have a real opportunity to win next year because I mean they're gonna have Trey Henderson back, Marvin Harrison back, Emeka back. So you have the top 2 receivers in the country, the best running back in the country, and whoever plays quarterback is gonna be fine because the weapons are gonna be so impressive, and you have to be able to pass block. So this is a kid that entered tonight. This Walter Roush kid. 4-year starter at Stanford. Started as a freshman, played in 40 games, probably has 30-something starts. He started some as a freshman. 4-year starter, just entered the portal tonight. And again, this is all on Buckeye.
Old Ryan Harris looking mother, dude, from Notre Dame. Look at him all clean cut. Probably was on an what was the episode of MTV show they did for Ryan Harris making an offensive tackle or something?
No, it was True Life, like my
True
my
Life, I
body
want to be an
or
OT.
yeah. I mean, we've got Nevada broke some stuff on some guys coming in. Let's see what he's got. Jeremiah Byers, that's the guy you said from UTEP.
That's a
third
big body right there.
3rd-year right tackle.
31, and I mean,
Yeah.
I think they got some numbers on him here. I mean, he graded out. Now, again, I don't know who's grading and what the criteria is. I'll take you and I's grading, which is a little bit more difficult than maybe somebody who's in the media business who doesn't know their head from their ass. But this guy started 12 games last year, and he graded out per a source as the 18th best overall tackle in the country at 79.4%. That was getting at least 200 snaps. So, he's for his size, it seems like he moves around well. He graded high in pass blocking, and I believe he had They're saying he had 855 snaps this year. He only gave up 1 sack. So I like those numbers. I'll take it when you're talking about coming back and being pass happy again next year. You know, you just mentioned we mentioned before we started this deal that Brian Hartline's gone out and gotten himself a big time receiver. So again, like the beat keeps rolling. You know, you're going to have dudes like Jaden Ballard who should emerge with some guys leaving. It's about time for Jaden to step up and assume his role as the next at least reliable weekly receiver, somebody that you can go to. So I think the one thing we learned more than anything this year is that there's so many variables that can happen through a Big Ten regular season. Not to say that it doesn't happen in other conferences, but just the style of running that we do, the physicality of it, even though I felt we were less physical on the offensive line than some of the people we played against at times. But our backs just got mashed up and mangled this year. I mean, Trey got banged up. You know, we lost Evan early in the season. Mayan got banged up as the season went along. So you were trickling all the way down to, hey, you know, put Chip Trainum in and Dallin Hayden, who's, came on as a 100-yard back at the end of the season. So you never know what's going to happen. But, you know, that receiving room is always going to be counted on.
Yeah, I totally agree. This is another guy that hit the portal visiting Ohio State. This AJ Cornelius. I mean, I just want him to come so we can call him Don Cornelius because that'd be a
Is
great
he
nickname.
related to Don Cornelius? Or hey,
I would just call him Don Cornelius. So Don Cornelius is at Rhode Island, and like the hardest part is, so you know, you look at this grade, this 1 sack allowed, 91.1 PFF, but it's like you got to remember, like he plays at Rhode Island, so the best team that Rhode Island plays is going to be. I mean, Indiana would kick the shit out of Rhode Island.
The fighting Joe Flacco's of Delaware State.
Well, yeah. It's so like it's like when a guy grades out high at UTEP. It's like, well, who's he playing every week? He's playing, UNLV and like Antarctica State, and so it's like, the grades are all relative to your competition level. So when a guy's at 91.1, it's different when he's playing in the SEC. Or the Big Ten, as opposed to wherever Rhode Island plays.
Like you're saying, if that was you lining up an offensive tackle for Rhode Island, it'd be like a 98, 99%.
Well, yeah, it was like when we played Youngstown State my senior year. I mean, it's a 1AA school. I mean, I graded like 96% because it's like, I got to go against Vernon Golston and Cam Hayward every day. And I got to go against a guy from Youngstown State. Like, are you kidding? It's a joke. I mean, because
dude, I just want to know: are we gonna get like what was the old the Soul Train line? That will get to come through for all the offensive linemen. Here comes down the starting lineups. Dude, if we had starting lineups that came out through a Soul Train line and dudes were up there just powering through, like, coming on through. I'm going to get a water, man. I'm parched.
Dude, I was going to say, they can't, I feel bad. These people can't see your little tiny ass legs. Well, I guess I'm going to throw it back to here just because I got TJ just chilling. Appreciate you guys. Click that like, subscribe. We are going to fire up some JJ Smith film. Obviously, I broke him down today in a shorter film. TJ hasn't seen him. He isn't as big of a recruiting guy as I am. So with Buckeye Scoop, talked to the high-level guys at South Florida Express today. Heard one of the funniest stories of all time. So Geno Smith, the quarterback for the Seahawks, his dad is Geno Smith Sr., and he's one of the coaches for South Florida Express. And I was talking to their guys today about JJ and about Brandon Ennis and JoJo Trader, Mark Fletcher. Obviously, he decommitted. He's heading to Florida, it looks like. And Geno Smith's dad, I'm going to put this on the board because this is so funny, benched his own son in the fantasy football playoffs in favor of Justin Fields.
Hey, if we came in, it was like, starting at guard, 6'4", 285 pounds from Glen Oak High School, hitting the line.
You ain't 6'4". Sit down. Tyler Whaley closer to 6'4" than you are. 6'3.5" maybe on your best day. All right, Vito, starting quarterback for next year. I'm gonna go. I really want it to be Devin Brown. I think he's more talented than Kyle McCord. I think Kyle's probably going to get the first snap. Devin Brown's the guy that I've heard he's the deal. he's a fantastic athlete too. I like athletic quarterbacks. I think they're harder to defend, harder to go against. Who said they were in Vegas?
We're winning 2 natties with Devin Brown. So if Quay's Fresh is saying that we're winning 2 natties with Devin Brown, does that mean that Devin Brown is going to be the next Heisman Trophy winner for Ohio State? Because
well, I mean, if we beat Michigan the last few years, C.J. Stroud would have 2 Heismans. I mean, literally, like that game's had far-reaching implications, like because we couldn't beat
that's
those
going to
guys.
be a nightmare. I mean, to me, I would.
Oh my God.
Like 30 years down the line, I mean, I still sit here and think that, almost, what are we, 15, 16 years down the line removed from when we lost to Florida. I mean, the repercussions from that game, the thing that you ultimately think about when you start to become older after this is all said and done, and I know that CJ took a lot of flack for some stuff he said in his post-game presser about, it's don't judge this team based off of this performance, or whatever the hell he said. It downgraded the fact that this is the most important game that you will ever play in your career. And right now, as you just mentioned, Kirk, it potentially just costs you back-to-back Heismans. And so that's something I think when you look 30, 40 years down the line that you're going to think about, because I sit back here and think that, at the time in 2006, going into that 2007 game with Florida, we had the opportunity at that point. We would have gone down as the greatest college football team in the history of college football, because we would have been the first team that would have ever started number 1 and preseason number 1, started number 1, went all the way through the regular season to win a national championship number 1. So essentially wire to wire. Nobody else had ever done that in college football history. That, to me, I think you're the best team in college football history.
I mean, we'd at least been in the argument.
We left that on the plate, and that sucks, right? Thinking back all these years, right?
Oh, well, I mean, like, here's the thing about Ohio State, and this is something that is hilarious. So, the Michigan game, they honored the 2012 team. I was a GA on that team. I know that team. I know every player on the team. I know that team very well. Our 06 team would have kicked the shit out of that team. I'm just telling you. Like, I mean, we didn't have the offense. We would have had to stop Braxton. We couldn't throw the ball real well. We were tough. I mean, we were a good team, but our 06 team would have waxed that team with Teddy and Gonzo and Hartline and Robo and Roy. I mean, they couldn't have defended us. Not to mention our running game. But, we lost that Florida game. And did we have a 10-year reunion at the Horseshoe? No. Did we have a 15-year reunion at the Horseshoe? No. Like, I mean, they're never going to honor that team. And we won the Big Ten. But we lost.
Let's also remember that was the first outright Big Ten championship that Ohio State had won since 1984. That was 22 years in the making. We've shared titles.
Really?
Yeah. That was the first outright Big Ten championship that Ohio State had won since I was born in 1984. Now, if you think about it, I mean, the 02 team, and here's the question I want to ask you after this, but, I mean, the 02 team, we weren't outright champions. We shared it with Iowa because we didn't play them, and they went undefeated on their side. We shared it in 05, which would be the next time we'd win it. And because we lost it in 03, I believe Wisconsin ended up winning it. But here's the question. How does the 06 team, if we beat Florida and people say greatest team in college football history, how does the 06 team stack up against the 02 team?
Oh, I mean, I think we'd have beat the 02 team. I mean, if we would have beat that Florida game, like
on that 02 team, I'll tell you this: the 06 team would have never seen a defense like the 02 defense.
Oh, I agree, but I'm just saying, like, you got to be confident in your guys. Like, we had. I mean, here's the thing: when I look at football, now granted, their defense was much better. Our 06 defense was not very good. It was okay.
But against defense ranked very high though in a lot of statistical categories in the country.
Yeah, but we didn't play anybody. I mean, we when we played Michigan and Florida, we got exposed. So it's like, and again, I'm not dogging out the defense. I'm just saying our 05 defense was 1,000 times better than the 06 defense. Our 07 defense was 1,000 times better than the 06 defense. Like 07, we had Cam Hayward. Dude, go look at our numbers from the 07 defense for my senior.
Somewhere David Patterson is just screaming at you right now.
Good. Tell him to go look at the numbers. You know where we finished in defense in 07? Number one in total defense. Look how many rushing yards we give. It was like we give like 60 yards a game on the ground. 60. Like this year's Ohio State team against Michigan gave up like 5 plays of 70. You know, like the only team that scored on us all year was LSU. I mean, we lost to that Illinois game, but you know, again, Illinois is as crappy of a team as they are. They had
Always
some guys. They had some monsters. They had Vontae Davis, top
Chris
15
Norwell.
pick. The Chris Norwell is really good. I mean, that was, you know, if that guy doesn't get cancer, he probably plays 10 years in the league. He was really good.
He was really, really good. man.
He's the
just
guy
makes
that
me sick.
Chris Norwell should. And for you guys that are paying attention, that's Andrew Norwell's brother, Cincinnati Anderson kid. He's my age. He should have been a Buckeye. Should have taken him over Brandon Maupin and some of the guys that were in my class. Really tough, strong kid. I mean, he would have been a hell of a nose guard for us. I mean, again, he was a problem. You know, Jay Lehman had like 30 tackles. He had like his Paul Postlesny game. Britt
Brian
Miller.
Campbell from Massillon. How about when they got BG
yeah,
back there to
yeah.
secondary?
Brian Gamble scored a touchdown against us as a
Yeah,
freshman.
wow.
Britt Miller, who I played with in San Francisco for the 49ers, he played like 7 years in the
Illinois
league.
always played us tough, man. Whether it was at home or Champaign. I mean,
Well, I mean,
we
it-
should have lost in 06, and then you guys got beat in 07. That's crazy.
Well, 06 was weird because we were up like 17-0 at halftime, and then the second half we just went out and sucked. I mean, it ended up being like 17-10, and like
Yeah.
you know, we were scoring 40 points on everybody, 45 points, and the difference between like our 06 team and like the teams today is like Tress wasn't obsessed with padding stats the way Ryan Day and Urban Meyer are, where it's like they leave the starters until there's 2 minutes to go in the fourth quarter because they have to throw in 3 more touchdowns so that you know that their number one offense. Like Tress never cared. Tress would pull us in the middle of the third quarter and you know get the backups in and I was fine with that. I was like, look, we're up by 4 scores. Get us out of the game. Go ahead and put the AYOs in because again. I like when the young kids get to play in the game, and I like when the walk-ons get to play in the game because those kids work hard too. Their parents are sitting in the stands. I don't want to play anymore. We're up by, you know, if we're up 35-7, get me out of the game. Like go let all these other kids play because they work hard, you know. And for like a kid like Dr. You remember Dr. Ebbs? Do you remember Ebner?
Yeah,
So Dr. Did you read our chat?
Reading some of these chats, yeah, these are great.
Yeah.
Cam Hayward, how about Cam Hayward up for Walter Payton Man of the Year? He might end up winning it. They usually give that to somebody who's kind of on their squad song.
I hope he does. Yeah. Yeah. Mendenhall. It's funny. I love these guys that remember this stuff. Yeah. You know, it was funny. Like, you know, he said, y'all don't up downs after that. I've never been more angry in my entire.
Juice Williams was over in the corner watching you guys do 50-yard gassers. You guys are doing gassers and up downs.
I'd have probably been arrested for mass murder after that game because I mean I was ready to kill everybody. I've never been more angry in my life than after the Illinois game. See, it was last game
of the day.
Oh, senior day, last game of the shoe, and you know, the thing that pisses you off when you're a leader and you're a captain of a team is when the team isn't focused. So when we show up and like, you know, leading up to the game, I literally have guys on the team that are starters asking me, do you think it's okay for my parents to book tickets to New Orleans yet? Has your mom booked a ticket to New Orleans? Yeah, because New Orleans was national championship. And I'm like, are you shitting me? Like, we still have to beat Illinois and Michigan. And I don't even, I mean, I never looked past the next game. I don't care who we're playing in 2 weeks or a month, or I don't look at scenarios. Because again, that's how you get beat. And, you know, we had too many guys doing that. And I was that next, I mean, I remember I wrote on the grease board in the Woody in the big meeting room, because after the game, you know, my mom's there, my sister's there, all my family's there, because we had to do all the senior day bullshit. We had to go down there and like give her the flower and take the photo. And like, I hate all of that. I hated it when I was a junior and they had to do it for you and Troy. I hated it when I was a senior because it's just like, I don't need all this extra bullshit emotion. I'm ready to go kill somebody. Let me go kill somebody. I don't need like to start crying and see everybody crying. I don't need any of that.
Come down here and take this flower down to my sister. Take that deep flower.
You're such a dumb shit. But anyways, I don't know. Like I was going through it and it's just like we lose. I walk back to the Woody Hayes because I'm so angry. Like I literally I'm done playing. take my
You
little.
didn't stop. You didn't stop at Heinegate.
No, I didn't stop anywhere. I literally,
I would have.
I,
I know you
I,
needed that double shot of Crown after that one, man. You were
oh
probably
god,
so
I,
pissed.
I walked back to the Woody because I didn't want to wait for the bus. I was too angry. I think the buses might actually left me because I was like one of the last guys. 'Cause I had to get treatment and I did media and whatever. But like, I was so angry. I walked back to the Woody and I just started watching Michigan film. I was like, this is the only thing I can do that can make me. So I watched them against Oregon. I watched them against App State. Oregon beat them like Oregon massacred them I mean, it was like 45-14 or it was something crazy. Like, I mean, at the time, there was a time in the season where Oregon was like number 1 in the country, or they were number 2. They were like, we thought we were going to see them in the championship. And then Dennis Dixon got hurt, tore his ACL, and then they were kaput. They were done. But I watched a ton of Michigan. I literally watched like till 3 or 4 in the morning. And I finally left the WAC, I was so like beside myself and angry because I'm just like, I can't believe, like, as a captain, I let that shit happen. Like, I literally let like guys get that distracted. Because again, like most of the time when we lose, it's just because the team isn't focused and they don't play well. They don't play to the standard they need to play to. So like when we lose to Michigan and we take all these stupid penalties, stupid personal fouls, we don't execute a fake punt. I mean, it's just focus. That's all it is because you have to execute. And again, like, we rolled over against the Gators, which sucked, and that I felt like we weren't where we needed to be. And against LSU, like at least we fought, but we still got ran. But they were way better than we were, and plus it was in Louisiana, so that was a little harder. And plus we weren't as good as in 06 because like we didn't have a Heisman Trophy winning quarterback. So I don't know. I was so mad. Oh my god, it's like. And I mean that next week, man, I was the Exorcist all week. I was nuts going up to Michigan because I'm like, because I was like, I'm not about to lose to these motherfuckers on their senior day with Jake Long. I was like, it's just not going to happen. Like, I mean, so you guys better go get some heart and some courage and go see the Wizard and order all. Man. I mean, because man, I'm telling you, I was like,
it was
crazy. Well, I was just like.
That powder keg was lit. How about your boy Kerry Kistler? Kerry Kistler's over here saying, you guys forgot about Craig Krenzel. He goes, you guys would have never beaten Craig Krenzel. I would have sicked Mike Kudla on Craig Krenzel. Craig Krenzel would have been a nightmare. If he could have got around
Shano.
Big hair, big ID. If I got around Ivan Douglas or Shane.
God, I mean, isn't that crazy? About the O2 team, both of our tackles are dead. ID and Shane are, but I mean, that is the saddest. Like, I mean, and they're not old. They're 42. They would have been 42 years old. I mean, Shane died 2 years ago. ID. I mean, it's like the number of guys that we've lost off that, like from our era. Kudla's gone. I mean, it's literally insane. It's the saddest thing in the world. God, who else? J.D. Larson committed suicide. Zach Schlegel from Canton McKinley committed suicide. I mean, it's terrible, dude. But I
don't know. That's I'm proud of you though, man. That's true leadership skills. I'm not sure if you learned that from me or not. If you learned that from living with me or not, but
sometimes like you just got to say what needs to be said. And again, like I always tell people are like, is it a bigger honor to be a captain or an All-American? I was like, I'd rather be an All-American because that means you're good. Being a captain just means you're popular. And I honestly, like, I didn't like being a captain because, like, you have to go say shit and you can't just be in your own little world and just focus on you. You have to, like, hold people accountable that sometimes, when you're a captain, if you're a good captain, you're not going to necessarily be popular because you're going to have to say shit to people that they're not going to want to hear. And there's a lot of people that think and they think whatever they want me because I don't care because when there's a standard you're trying to get to, and again, you gotta remember, like in my shoes in 07, all my homies are gone. You're gone, Troy's gone, Ted Ginn's gone, Gonzo's gone, Pittman's gone. All my boys are gone. Dave Patterson, my boy, gone. So like I'm like the last of the Mohicans. There's nobody left. And like we get
Alex Boone.
Yeah, well, I had Alex. I had a bunch of younger guys, but like when you play as a freshman, and you're kind of always with the old crew. Then all of a sudden, the whole old crew is gone, and then some of your younger guys like Gonzo is one of my best friends. He declares early, and Pittman declares early. Then it's like you look around. I mean,
Mohicans.
well, I mean, like in my senior class when we returned, I had more career starts than the rest of the class than the rest of the seniors combined. Like think about that.
Yeah,
Because like the only guys that started in games were Larry Grant and Deontay. So
that was like the lost class, man.
oh, it was the worst. It was the worst class. No,
Like Darius Hiley and Reggie Smith and Sheehan and
yeah.
I mean all those guys. Brandon Maupin, Brandon
Oh, yeah.
Underwood. I mean the beat goes on. I mean we talked about Kurt Lukens the other night. You know Kurt was in line. Kurt would have ended up getting some starts at Ohio State if it wasn't for his shoulder, but. You know, I mean, him, Devin Jordan. Devin Jordan was a guy that was on his way to potentially getting some reps. You know, there's a lot of dudes off of that class. That's 2003 class, correct?
Yeah, we were hot trash. I mean,
Man.
here's the thing.
I mean, yeah, they took you. You were 1.5 star out of Perry.
Someone had to carry the mail, you know.
Hot trash.
Well, it's like we had really high end guys. We had Dante who went top 10. We had Gonzo went first round. Dave Patterson, good career captain, 4-year guy, whatever. Myself, God, who am I forgetting? You know,
Dave Patterson's one of the most underrated defensive tackles in Ohio State history. I mean, these guys are talking about Big Daddy Wilkinson on the text line over here, and I don't know how that even started. I mean, if they were just talking about legendary number, he wore 72, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe legendary 72 since you got me on here, I guess. I don't know, but David Patterson was just.
Oh God.
I mean, but then and think next to him you got Quinn Pitcock, who's a first-team All-American, who's got a tree in Buckeye Grove, who is a captain as well. I mean, him and DP were captains on that defensive line, and those dudes, rightfully so, man. Like that to me was probably the best defensive tackle combo in the country in 2006.
Well, and Quinn got his nipples pierced too, so I never leave that out because he used to put tape on his like nipples before practice, and I was like, I don't know what I'm supposed to make of that when you're a grown ass man and you get your nipples pierced, but it is what
Quinn
it is.
Was a wild one, man. Quinn and I had some fun times, dude. We came in the same class together, and we liked a lot of the same things.
Do you remember when he pissed on the thing at his speech before the 06 Michigan game? You have to remember that. I mean, he's at the captain's table, and they have like the little tub that you take the dirty dishes away in. And Quinn had this like paper mache Michigan logo made, and you know, there's like all these recruits in there because it was the biggest Ohio State game in history. It was a 1-2 Michigan game at home, and like the coaches all leave, and the 4 captains all talk, and most of them just say something stupid, like not much needs to be said. Let's go. Okay, got some bullshit like that. So Quinn gets up and says some crazy stuff. Then all of a sudden, he stands up on a chair and whips his dong out and just pisses on this logo in front of everybody. And I'm sitting there.
I remember that now. That was great.
And I'm just like, did I really just see that? Like, I mean, did that really just happen? Like, I mean, and there's high school kids in here. There's these high school recruits. Joseph Barksdale was a 5-star tackle. I mean, it was just. I'm like, am I in the Twilight Zone? It was like, I was like, I don't know if that's supposed to motivate me somehow that you just urinated all over the logo, like in front of 100 dudes. And I mean, credit to him, man. He didn't get stage fright. I mean, I would have been like, man, I'm not trying to have a bunch of dudes. Like, it's like, I don't know. It was weird.
Max. Like I'm sitting there backed up.
God.
I'm sitting there backed up from all the Oxycontin I got in my system before the game.
All the Pedialyte. This chat is unbelievable, guys. I appreciate you guys. Yeah, I know Big Daddy was 72. If Big Daddy would have gone against TJ, he'd have probably put him into orbit. And the little tiny ass legs. Big Daddy weighed about 350 and ran a 4.7.
I would have hit him with the crab block. I'd have taken him 5 yards off the ball.
Oh God! Maybe if you had thrown a donut back there or something. I don't know.
Nipple pierced men die young, man. That's great. Jeez. Yeah,
God.
Quinn was crazy. I mean, I seen Quinn make one of the craziest plays ever in 2005. We were playing up there in Ann Arbor for a piece of the Big Ten title. Now, I just thought about that too. I mean, your loss to Illinois, that would have put you at back-to-back outright Big Ten champions.
No. We still won the outright.
Share?
we were outright in 07.
You guys
Yeah.
still were outright even though you lost to Illinois
Yep.
because the rest of the Big Ten was just trash.
Yeah, Michigan. I don't
had two
know.
losses.
I don't know who they lost to. I know that early in the year they lost to App State and Oregon. Obviously, those aren't Big Ten losses.
Right.
I don't know who they lost to. They might have lost to Penn State, maybe.
Okay, so
Or
so when you guys-
no. Penn State beat them in 05. I think in 07 they might have beat them. I can't remember.
So when you guys beat Michigan in 07, that was for the outright Big Ten championship.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And it was funny after we lost to LSU. They asked me since I was a captain if I wanted to help design the rings, like the Big Ten title rings. And I literally said, we shouldn't even get rings. Why are we getting rings? We lost the national championship again. Nobody should get a ring.
We lost two out of the last three.
I'm just like, why should we ever get a ring? There's no reason to get a ring. That's idiotic and stupid. So.
Well, no, the other thing is back to that play. I mean, the one thing where you really grade defensive tackles is pursuit. I mean, because not everything is just straight ahead. Nobody, if somebody's running straight at you, I mean, you should make those plays. But when you see defensive tackles on screen plays, and I remember that Michigan ran a screen play, I think at their own 15-yard line, 20-yard line, something like that, with Mike Hart, and Quinn from the opposite side of the field took the greatest pursuit angle you've ever seen a defensive tackle make in his life, and he lit Mike Hart up and ended up stopping him at the line of scrimmage. It was one of the most impressive plays I've ever seen, because I think he was fighting off either Reuben Riley, the 72 legend from Michigan, or Jake Long, one of those guys. I can't remember who, but I'll tell you what, man, Quinn was one of those defensive tackles that you base that's when you go to grade them out at the end of the game. And that's what I think we need to see more of from some of our guys, is you can get lazy in those pursuit angles. When the ball gets past you, I mean, are you turning and run downfield? How many times do you see a defensive tackle, he's able to affect the play by, if he takes the right pursuit angle, that guy cuts back who has the ball into midfield, and you can get a guy punching at the ball, making a big tackle from behind and affecting that guy. So Quinn was that dude. He definitely deserved his Buckeye tree, that's for sure.
Yeah, that's something that we either have the slowest DBs in the country or the laziest, because the way Michigan could just pull away from us every single time they broke through the line of scrimmage, I was like, is there anybody else on the field? I mean, I didn't understand how for 70 straight yards you only saw the one Michigan guy running and maybe one guy in pursuit. And I give Zach Harrison a lot of credit, because he catches a lot of flack on the boards, a lot of flack on the internet, but he was one of the guys who was actually busting it to get down there and try to tackle a guy. Because again, when you're in the heat of the game, even if a guy looks like he's pulling away and it's a wrap, you don't know if he's gonna blow a hamstring. I mean, anything can happen. I mean, especially with Ohio State's terrible turf, where these guys are just blowing gaskets like crazy. I don't know. It just it's interesting. So you did make all Big Ten, and man, you made coaches and media. Wow, big dog. Okay, I see you in 06. I didn't make it.
Look at the other guys who were on that team too. I mean, Joe Thomas and Jake Long.
Well, yeah, that's why I didn't make it, because look who's in front of me. Jake Long and Joe Thomas, two Hall of Fame. I mean, Jake's not a Hall of Famer, but Joe is. Then Levi, who went 5th overall. Marshall Yanda, who's probably a fringe Hall of Famer. And then there's moi. I mean, that's the funny thing about a lot of these award teams is it's kind of based on.
You and Boone were on honorable mention all Big Team together. You
no.
I
made second team. Second team all Big Ten.
For media or coaches?
Media, the worthless one.
Yeah.
Yeah, the media one's not. I mean, that's not worth anything. The coaches one is the one that's the real one, because the coaches actually watch the film. The media just they just read whoever's in the thing. So whatever. I mean, it doesn't mean anything, but I'm looking it over right now. But yeah, no, we were in 07. We were outright. Michigan had 2 losses, and Illinois had 2 losses. It was funny because Illinois actually went to the Rose Bowl. Michigan went to the Capital One Bowl, and they beat the Gators. I remember, because that was the year that Tebow won the Heisman.
Yeah, they got the payback for Lloyd. That was Lloyd Carr's last game, right?
It was. And I remember I talked to Jake Long about that. And I was like, dude, I was actually rooting for you guys. I was rooting for you and Henny, because all we heard about was how terrible the Big Ten was, and I was like, so when I was in Miami with those guys, I was like, we were actually at a bar in New Orleans because we all got in like the day they were playing on New Year's Day, and like we didn't play for like 7 days, and we are all getting in that day, and we were watching the game, and I was like, great, these guys are actually gonna win. Oh my god, what else we got? What else we got in these questions? You guys keep bringing these questions. 80 guys on, I love it. See, I love.
So,
Franco says, I love Trey Smith
the,
being Michigan. That's good
the
stuff.
thing with NIL that we were talking about earlier, I mean, so Gene Smith has now come out and he's asking for assistance to be able to compete against other schools' NILs, or is he asking what is Gene Smith essentially asking for?
People to donate to the collective. I mean, it's just like,
I mean,
whatever.
Ohio State can make about 10 phone calls and have a slush fund of about $30 million available within 24 hours.
Well, I think that the hardest part is that doesn't. I mean, it kind of benefits Ohio State because you keep the players happy and that kind of thing. But like, the tough part with Ohio State is like they want that money for their own bank account, for their own. Hey,
Right.
because you got to understand, like the Woody Hayes is one of the worst buildings in the Big Ten now, according to. They did a study based on how new are the football buildings around the Big Ten, how many upgrades have there been, what do they have?
Because we just kept building around it instead of tearing it down and just building something brand new.
Well, yeah, exactly. Like, I mean, they keep adding on to it, and they changed where, I mean, God, the funny thing about you is like you weren't even here when they actually opened the new weight room up. You were gone. That was because '07 was the first year we had that in the water treadmill.
Yeah, they were building it in '06 because our weight room was,
It's
the end zone and
pit.
the back 20-yard lines of the
Yeah.
indoor facility.
That was amazing.
That was literally the definition of working out on the yard.
Yeah, literally, it's like you're in Pelican Bay. But the thing about the NIL thing is like when you're Ohio State, like if someone's gonna write a check for $5 million, do you want to give that to one of these NIL groups, or do you want to control it? Because if you control it, you can put it towards a new stadium, a new building, a new whatever. I'm gonna shift into the film room for you guys while TJ's gone. We're gonna watch a little bit of Lincoln Kienholz. I don't know if you guys are super familiar with him. He is our new quarterback commit. Again, I know the 2013 quarterback does not elicit a ton of excitement, just because we're getting Dylan Raiola. So I mean, most people assume that this kid will never play, but I mean, crazier things have happened. I mean, we saw what happened with Joe Burrow. This kid honestly reminds me of Joe Burrow because he's an ultra athlete. So, TJ, we're going to watch a little bit of Lincoln Kienholz. He's our new quarterback commit that we just got. He is from Pierre, South Dakota. He went to TF Riggs, which, I mean, if I think of TF, I think the fuck? I ain't going to say the
Well,
F
I
word.
thought
so I'm
he
not
was
trying
from
to
East
get French.
Germany. Kleisenholzer.
Kienholz. Kienholz.
It was like my old friend Yana.
Oh, the old boo thing.
Maybe there's a
Vito, I think they're gonna renovate and add on to it instead of new construction. But I know that the people in the Woody Hayes are kind of pissed off because they've made a brand new building for wrestling, a new building. Like, I mean, TJ, I don't know when's the last time you were at the Woody, but they built where the Bigs used to be. It's all brand new. The Schumacher Center,
Yeah.
brand new lacrosse stadium. So all these sports that literally are big old mountains of red ink because they take them into the red every year, and they don't support the one team that keeps them in the black, which is the football team, in terms of how it do. But I'm gonna just start playing some of this. So this is Lincoln Kienholz, kid from Pierre, South Dakota. We flipped him from Washington, and again with Dylan Raiola, the number one player in the country, coming in. A lot of people aren't super excited about this kid, but he's the number 13th rated quarterback in the country. And again, with Ohio State's quarterback situation, I don't think Ryan Day's ever really settled there. Like, I think he's always going to try to bring in the next big thing. But this kid, and again, this is South Dakota ball, so this isn't really great football, but the kid's got tools. He's a super athlete. I mean, he's a great basketball player, great baseball player, a lot of tools. So
Seems like seems like he keeps his feet active when he was rolling out of the pocket a lot, and he's keeping his eyes downfield. I mean, to be able to throw on a run like that is a big deal. I'm assuming because they're playing here in Minnesota, the Minnesota Vikings stadium. Is that was he a state champion? Was he in a state championship game?
I don't know. I'd be guessing completely, but
Yeah, I'm guessing maybe so. I mean, you would think up there. I mean, that brand of football. And again, I don't know a ton about the ball in Dakota. I mean, I can go based off of. I remember playing against Chad Greenway when he was at Iowa, and I believe they only played like an 8-man football up there, right?
Yeah.
So, it's obviously it seems like it's developed a little bit thus far, but I know there's a difference between obviously South and North what they're doing there.
Yeah.
To me, I mean, if this kid's going to be a 5-star quarterback coming out of that area or whatever he is, 4-star, 5-star, and he's committed to Ohio State, I mean, there's got to be something that he's showing these coaches that they're like, damn, maybe he's not playing against high-end caliber competition in high school football like you would see in Florida, California, Texas, Ohio, PA, something like that. But I mean, clearly there's a live arm there. You can tell. I mean, I've counted 4 or 5 times already on this highlight tape where he's chucked it 50+ yards in the air.
Yeah, he's a crazy athlete. I mean, he could do between the legs dunks like Isaiah Ryder back in the old dunk contest. I mean, like again, he's super athletic. So his stats: South Dakota High School Player of the Year as a senior, threw for 3,422 yards, 46 touchdowns, 6 picks, 66.5 completion percentage, ran for 1,436 yards and 24 rushing TDs. Wow. And he also, and to boot, and I have no idea why this kid would ever play defense, added 12 tackles and four interceptions on defense. So it's like, I couldn't imagine why this guy would ever play defense when he's that prolific on offense. But small ball football, and he's easily the best guy on the field everywhere he steps on. So,
shoot, I'll take Drew. I'll take Drew DeShields from West Branch.
Why is he a two-way guy?
No, he's committed to Kent State though. He was committed to Eastern Illinois. He's not committed to Kent State. And tell you what, I mean, I want to know who the 6 guys are that intercepted this dude. If they were off his receiver, if they were tips, or if they were bad balls. But I think that to me, I mean, those would be the first 6 plays that I'd like to see. Are the 6 interceptions that he threw?
Yeah. No, I agree. I think he's like I said, he's a good athlete. He's got, and again, Ryan Day, they biffed a kid, Brock Glenn, a kid that ended up going to Florida State, who was committed to Ohio State. They ditched him, basically said thanks but no thanks. That kid went to Florida State, and to upgrade to this kid, and I like it. Like again, I love if there's one key to my heart right here. I'm gonna get the old straighter out. When you see this, and this is my biggest pet peeve with CJ Stroud, drives me absolutely insane. When you see, this is what I call the free money. So the pocket is decent. You got your guy running off here, guy here. I mean, these guys are all back in their zones. Like, look at this. I call this all free money. This is free money right there. So you go make a guy miss, and all of a sudden, and now this is ridiculous. I mean, he just got, if you just get 6 yards and you make it second and, I can't tell what the chains are at or what the number is, what down it is. But
if he gets inside past the 30, I mean, he's making it 2nd and 4, 2nd and 3.
Yeah, like right here, if you just slide, and all of a sudden, you're here, and all of a sudden it's 2nd and 4. That's a whole different world than 2nd and 10. And I know that doesn't seem like a lot to people, but it's just when you're playing the Georgia Bulldogs, man. Our guys
puts the defense in an entire different predicament.
Yeah. I mean, and again, like it's, when you're a pass rushers dream of guys like CJ Stroud that just sit in the pocket and they don't move. And they're just, because they know right where they're going to be at. They can do a pass rush move. And if they get to that spot, because they know where the spot's every time, it's their dream. Guy like this who can move around, run a little bit. I mean, and again, like these are, good throws. He's a competitor. And again, this kid may never see the field at Ohio State, but neither might, Kyle McCord or Devin Brown, because we got guys that, you know, the way Ryan recruits and the way that there's the portal and the way that there's movement. I mean, you know, we could see anybody at quarterback with the way we do it. I mean, we had Quinn Ewers reclassify. We brought in Justin Fields.
I mean,
Ryan.
we had parade All Americans sit the bench when we were there.
Oh, absolutely. Well, like, and like again, like I know this is bad ball. This is, you know, South Dakota ball, but like this is, and again, I'm not advocating quarterback run because I know Ryan Day hates running the quarterback. You know, so I
Heart of
protect
the
him
deep,
because
running through the heart of the defense.
well, I mean, like literally, like I mean, now obviously this is, I mean, this is, you know, this is Mark Pantoni playing nose guard here, just getting just driven into oblivion by guys that are bigger than him. But it's like, yeah, so this isn't a real look that you're ever going to see in the Big Ten. But you know, you see the kind of stress he puts on the defense because he doesn't get touched. You know.
Quinn Pickhock was playing too many video games there on that play.
Oh my god! I remember Olin Cruz talked to me about that. He's like, "What happened to your boy Pickhock?" And I was like, "Dude, I don't know. It's I don't know. He was watching the film, getting ready to play the Colts in '08 when I was a rookie, and I made the team. We're getting ready to play the Colts, and he's like, "What happened to your boy Pickhock? He's not on the team anymore." And he just finished his rookie year, and Olin was like, "He's really good," and I was like, "Dude, I have no idea." Because I talked to Gonzo, and I was like, "Hey, how's camp going for you guys?" And he's like, "Yeah, it's going good, but like, you know, Quinn just like quit. He's like disappeared. He stopped showing up." And I'm like, "You're telling me he stopped showing up when he's a third round? Like, if you're a third round pick in the NFL, you're guaranteed to be on the team for 4 years. Like, you're not going to get cut as long as you're not just god awful. Like, they're going to keep you. They're going to pay you your bonus."
Pick at Arizona my year I was there.
Who was it?
Buster Davis, linebacker from Florida.
No shit. The former Buckeye recruit.
Got cut.
Buster Davis. I mean, you have to be a total idiot to get cut. If you're before the 5th round and you get cut by an NFL team, you're an absolute total idiot. You know.
Not to mention, I mean, you're getting your check on Monday is pretty substantial for that. You know, 3rd round and above, you're getting a substantial check plus signing bonus.
Well, yeah, I mean, your bonus in the 3rd round, you're probably making $500-600 grand. I bet nowadays it's probably over $1 million because you know it goes up every year. So you know, and that was the old CBA too. That was like crazy money. I remember when in '09 I was in Detroit with Stafford. I mean, he signed for like $60 million as the #1 pick. So you know he can get a little cheese on his Whopper if he wants to. Look at this. It's like Vince Cleota.
Oh, my guy, Vinny G.
Vinny G.
That's my boy, man. Look at this cat. You talk about a little extra cheese on the Whopper. I mean, damn, dude, this dude does have some athleticism.
This dude is
making a health call here.
I don't know if this is sped up because like look at these guys on the sideline. I mean, how I'd recruit these guys. Watch these guys. Holy cow! Look at that coach. He's in Dockers going that fast.
So wait, is this guy
cow.
gonna get it? No, not gonna get him under pursuit on. Dang, that was a hell of a run right there.
Now this guy. I mean, I don't know who he reminds me of, but I mean, he's a guy. He ain't scared. That's for one thing.
He's played against John Moxon and West Canaan Coyotes.
Yeah, I'm saying, man.
Jeez, man. I mean,
Johnny Moxon. No, but I mean, you know, like, I mean, he's not scared. He puts his foot in there, and you know, again, like I love the QB run. I know that everyone in the world hates it, and everyone's, you know, a big puss nowadays. But you see what Justin Fields does, because I mean, Fields in the league, he's about to break the record for. I mean, the Bears might break the record for most rushing yards in NFL history by a team, and nobody thinks they have a good offensive line, and they don't have Derrick Henry at running back. They've got a bunch of guys, but Justin Fields could potentially be a 1,000-yard rusher at quarterback. So it's like that's the great equalizer in the NFL. Oh my God, what are you guys in here writing?
That Josh Perry's built like chiseled oak.
Chiseled oak. Little Timmy got destroyed.
I think David Greenshield. I think Drew Aller is going to be pretty good. I mean, we saw him play at Medina a couple times up here in Northeast Ohio when I called some games. I mean, Drew's got a live arm too, man. He's a heck of an athlete. He can spin the ball, and I think Penn State got a pretty good one there. Penn State is, you know, we always kind of feel like they're right there. You know, I mean, we weren't sure how that game was going to turn out this year when we went over there, and I mean, look at the game that JT had. It was pretty impressive.
I'll tell you what. Let me get on the main event. So we got a kid named JJ Smith out of Chaminade Madonna High School, Miami. He's a South Florida Express kid. This kid is the absolute truth. Maybe the best receiver to come out of high school, maybe ever. I mean, he's really
Ever?
good. I mean, dude, like he's rated as literally the top receiver to ever come out of high school. Like, he's that good. Jeremiah JJ Smith. I think he looks like Julio Jones. Again, he's playing, and he plays big time football. He's not playing, South Dakota, the fighting, the South Park Cows or whatever.
Chaminade Madonna's playing the best teams in the country.
Yeah, these guys are no joke. These guys are actually in Vegas playing Bishop Gorman, who, they were the team that won the national championship a few years ago. They're in Vegas. But here's JJ. So JJ's from South Florida Express, same as Ennis and Tate. JoJo Trader, who we'll get him too. But he's 6'3", 195. This is his junior highlight tape. Again, he's just an impossible cover. He's super lengthy, super long, super polished, physical as hell. I mean, you see a photo of this kid, and he looks like he's a college player. I mean, like I said, I was kind of being stupid, but I mean, I'd probably start this guy in the Peach Bowl, between, I'd move Emeka into the slot. I'd have him in the Z and put Marvin at the X and just take my chances because I think he's that good. But yeah, it's, I don't know. It's crazy.
These
Yeah,
guys are. I mean, these guys that are trying to cover this cat. It's like you would think you'd be committing like two guys to him. I mean, the one touchdown passer wasn't anybody within 20 yards of him. I mean, he's just cruising past everybody. I mean, his speed's on a whole different level.
Yeah, and he's a super hard worker, super good kid, quiet kid. Again, I talked to his 7-on-7 coach tonight. Shout out South Florida Express. They love the kid. He's just a great kid, and he works like an absolute animal. He's a beast. Super humble kid. We're actually going to interview him next week, either Monday or Tuesday. I'm going to get him and just kind of go through his film, but. You look at him and it's like this doesn't look like he just doesn't look like a 16-year-old. I mean his ball skills. I mean, he makes a one-handed catch on this highlight tape where you're just like, he looks like Justin Jefferson or one of those guys that can just catch the nose of the ball with like effortlessly. Body positioning, but again, he's a different cat, man. TJ, who do you think he looks like? I think he looks like Julio. I think Julio's, maybe the best high school receiver. I mean, he came into Alabama, started as a freshman. They won the national title pretty much, I think maybe his second year in 2009. Don't think they won it in 2008, but who does he remind you of?
Jesus, it's really hard to say. I mean, I guess the first thing that kind of stands out is what Marvin Harrison Jr. looks like.
No, there's a lot of people are saying because he's 18 and
yeah, I mean, he looks thick. He's bigger. He kind of moves around like him.
Yeah.
And that's a scary thing to think that you could have those two guys. I mean, Marvin Harrison Jr. I mean, he's kind of changing the game right now. I think he's put himself in the position as best wide receiver in the country. Hopefully, we utilize that come December 30th, but. Yeah, I think this guy has some of those capabilities, and maybe, I don't know, maybe even just a shade faster, because he's not, let's keep it real. I mean, Marvin Harrison size-wise is kind of on a different level for his speed-size combination with the hands, and this guy looks like he's maybe just not as thick, but he's tall like he is, and he may have just a little bit more speed.
Yeah, I definitely think he's quicker than Marvin. I think Marvin's obviously fantastic. He's probably best receiver in the country.
Look at that get off right there on that last play. I mean, that was dude covered his 10-yard sprint. I mean, that's really a lot of people talk about kids in his position and what the amount of space you're covering, so the 40-yard dash is more important. But what does that 10-yard snapshot look like when he doesn't have anybody pressed up on him? Like there, like his head is exactly how you would want it if you were starting a 40-yard dash. It's like it's shooting out through a box that's like 5 yards out in front of him. Look at that forward lean.
It's
He's at
funny,
the
like,
30.
yeah,
When he hits the 25-yard line, his body is almost it's parallel to the
yeah.
line. I mean, that forward drive right there, there's no
Holy
there's
shit.
no DBs that are going to be able to stay in front of that.
Yeah, I mean, you can't even see his numbers. He's so, I mean, and he's a great hurdler. He's a 300 and
Oh my
110
gosh.
state champion hurdler. I mean, he is a different cat, man. This cat is a, you know, and again, like, you know, we just got Brandon Innes and Carnell Tate, two other guys from South Florida Express. They're already committed, fantastic players, and now, you know, getting JJ might be the best out of all of them, and he's a year younger, which is crazy. He still has another year of high school. You know, I imagine he's going to do everything he can to enroll early, like a lot of these guys. These guys all want to enroll early and be out in 3 years, so they can, you know, if you enroll early.
John Alexander on the text line just opened up the key to the offense here. He's like, we don't need any JJ Smith. We don't need any Marvin Harrison Jr. Give me Pete Johnson, Bob Ferguson, and Jim Otis any day of the week.
Otis.
Jim Otis. And we're just going to chew up clock. We're going to chew up clock and keep the opposing offense off the field. Is that kind of like the is that like the Perry, the vaunted Perry wing tee?
Hey man, if you don't have the same skill, the best way to keep the best defense is an offense that keeps the opposing offense off the field. So if you could run the ball and hold the ball for 48 minutes and possess it for 48 minutes, and they only get the ball for 12 minutes, then that's your only antidote. Because like if you're going against a team that's hyper skilled and you're not that skilled, then you have no chance. Like that's why a lot of teams like, you know, Wisconsin, Michigan. I mean, Michigan was the prototype last year. They didn't really do as much this year because they had so many quick hitters where they want one play for 75 yards. But, you know, in 2021, it was ground and pound, beat the tar out of Ohio State, hold the ball, keep the skill guys watching. You know, because I mean, last year we were better on offense last year when we had Garrett and we had Olave and Jackson. I mean, Jackson Smith and Jigba was healthy. So I mean, every time we broke the huddle, we had Garrett, Olave, Jackson Smith, and Jigba, and then you're rotating in Marvin Harrison and Emeka Ibuka. And you know, the O-line was better last year. The skill guys were better last year. The running backs were better last year because Trey Henderson was healthy and he was a 1,700-yard back, whatever it was. So, you know, I think that it's a good plan. If you don't have the talent, and honestly with Georgia, I mean, if we can run the ball and hold the ball, great. You know, put the pressure on those guys to have to score fast because those guys are a physical team. They like to run the ball. Get them out of that. You know, get them off track. I think offensively against Georgia, I would go fast. I would not give those guys time to do what they want to do on defense because they run some crazy stuff on defense. They run bear. They run some 2-down looks. I've studied the national championship game versus the SEC championship game last year when they played Bama twice. Totally different defenses, totally different plans. I think they're going to run some crazy stuff against Ohio State just to make it hard. It's going to be a pro Georgia crowd. It's in Atlanta. Like we don't have to be stupid and act like it's going to be equal. It's not even going to be close. It'll be 70-30 Georgia Bulldog fans because it's just cheaper. Because if you're a Georgia Bulldog fan, you can gas the car up, drive over. If you're an Ohio State fan, you get to fly down, get a hotel. Gas up. Yeah, like you're Georgia, it's like you just drive an hour and you're in Atlanta. It's like great. Like
get you a package of beef jerky, a 12-pack, and you're there before you know it. You're there at the game.
Yeah, exactly. Gassed up, and you know, drink you a 6-pack of you know whatever, or a 5th of whatever, and you know go bark at everybody and see them dogs.
40-ounce St. Ides.
See, David, this is so this is funny. This is one of my favorite things, and I'm not chastising here, but this is great when you say the 4 tackle thing is one of the funniest things that always gets brought up. So last year we started Nick Petit at left tackle. We moved Thayer into left guard. Then we played Luke Whippler at center, and then we played Paris Johnson at right guard, and we played DeWand at right tackle. TJ, like this gets brought up all the time. Like, you know, they say we played 4 tackles, wasn't a good idea, couldn't run block, pass block, do anything well. What in reality is our offensive line was better last year than it was this year. It was much better. I mean, we were better running the ball last year. I think that the biggest difference is Michigan had Aiden Hutchinson, and they had the other good defensive end who ate her lunch. So yeah, you delete those guys from the Michigan game this year, and everyone's like, well, we blocked Michigan better this year. And I was like, well, yeah, because they had their number 2 pick in the draft declare and go to the Lions, so we didn't have to see him. I mean, because he probably would have ate her lunch again this year because he's going to be the NFL Rookie of the Year on defense because he's got 7.5 sacks or 8 sacks or whatever it is, 2 picks. Like nobody's even close to him. He should have been the number 1 pick in the draft. Your thoughts on that though, TJ? Because with the offensive line, you know, you're a guy that's a prime example that went from playing tackle your whole career to bump it down to guard because, you know, we needed a guard. So, you know, instead of sitting and whining because me and Alex Boone were playing tackle, you bumped into guard and you played great at guard. But talk a little bit about that transition because, you know, they put Paris Johnson in at right guard. Now, Paris Johnson is the most prototypical left tackle we've ever had since Orlando Pace. He's 6'7", 315, 15% body fat, like top 15 pick in the draft, first round. He's literally the perfect left tackle outside of Orlando. And we played him at right guard last year. And why did we do that? Because he's our most talented lineman by far. You got to get him on the field somewhere. Nick Petit is our best pass blocker, so you put him at left tackle. Thayer is a 5th-year returning guy. He's a captain. Can't bench him. DeWand is one of our most talented guys. He's 6'8", 380 pounds. He can't play guard because he's too big. And then there's Luke Whippler, who's at center, and you know, center's a center. So, you know, what are your thoughts on that? Because there's people that say, oh, Matt Jones should have played over Paris. And I'm like, Paris Johnson, it'd be like not using Secretariat to run a race. Or, you know, it'd be like if you said, hey, you got to go plow a field. Do you want to use the old plow horse or do you want to try out Secretariat as the plow horse? I'm like, well, let me see what Secretariat can do because he's the greatest horse that ever lived. That's kind of what Paris is, you know. But what are your thoughts on that? Are you more of a traditional position guy or a play the 5 best guys and figure out the best combination for the team to win?
Paris Johnson, the greatest horse that ever lived. I'm gonna write a children's book about that. Paris Johnson, the greatest horse that ever lived. No, you have to put the best 5 guys out there. You know, even if their body mold or structure or frame doesn't really fit that position. I mean, most of the times people will say a more compact, wide-bodied offensive guard is preferable, a guy that can move well out in space and isn't 6'5" or higher. You know, look at, you know, you mentioned Alex Boone, you know, look at his career once he got into the NFL. You know, he stuck around on practice squads until he couldn't be on practice squad anymore, and then he made the team, and he was off and running and, you know, started out as a jumbo tackle. And then, you know, you're not going to put him in over Joe Staley or I can't remember who the other tackle
Anthony
was.
Davis.
Anthony Davis on the other side.
Yeah.
He was out of Rutgers, correct?
Yeah.
So where's the next logical spot? Put him at offensive guard. You got Iupati on one side, and you put Alex in there at the other side, and Iupati's body is more suited as an offensive guard. You know, at like 6'3", 6'4", 330 pounds, he's a wide body, and Alex comes in there at what 6'6", 6'7", you know, 320, 330 some pounds. That is a prototypical type tackle body. So I think when you look at putting your best guys out there on the field, it just gives you a chance to, you know, maybe have a better gel. You're going to have more guys out there, you know, to be able to utilize their skill set, whether Thayer Munford coming out of an offensive guard set against a 3 technique is as good as Thayer Munford coming out of a left tackle or a right tackle set going against a wide edge defensive end where you could just kind of body that guy up and push him towards the sideline. I don't know what works best, but I think it did, as you mentioned, work better last year. I like the way the offensive line looked last year better. I like the physicality of the offensive line last year. You know, I still prefer Thayer Munford at right tackle over DeWan Jones. But I think you were just looking to get somebody who could actually block out the sun by putting DeWan Jones out there. You know, he's got great footwork for a big guy. I think he took a step backwards this year. I know he's still getting a lot of praise and a lot of love and will go, you know, fairly high in the draft, but I'm still not 100% sold on him and some things that I've seen. And, you know, and that's just me being overly critical because I know those positions well enough to do that. But, you know, just because you're big and you can literally block out two gaps because your body is and your size is that big, doesn't mean you're a great offensive lineman. There's still a lot of things that make you great, the technique things, the fundamental things, the leverage and the pad level with which you play. So I think it was out of necessity last year to say, hey, listen, let's get our five best guys out there. Who's our number six guy if somebody goes down, and then we rotate around. And I think it made sense also to be able to get Luke in there at the right time for his career to kind of start and take off. And it's going in the right direction for him at the center spot now too. So maybe this year, obviously we had to pop Paris out there. He's, as you said, prototypical tackle body. And then who are your best two guards to fit in? And, nothing against the offensive guard spot, but when you look at the game of football, from top to bottom, it's probably the easiest position to put somebody in. And that's, if you're worried about their skill set or getting exposed, you can put them between a good center and a good tackle, and there's not a whole lot of room for error other than, let's say, a bull rush up the middle on a pass play. So those are things. Those are things to me that you have to figure out a way to eliminate if you're going to have a pass game, the pocket stuff. But then, as we know, Kurt, if you're having trouble taking on a bull rush, move to some slide protection stuff. Again, you can constantly find ways to help your guys, not leave them isolated in certain positions where they can get exposed.
Well, and my thing is, and something that's my biggest pet peeve in all of coaching and all of football, is when there's a guy who clearly is struggling in his matchup, no matter who it could be a great defensive end, a great defensive tackle, and you just don't help him. Because there's ways to help anybody. Like if you're going against Aaron Donald and I'm going against some schmo or some fish, like they need to help you. Like I don't need help. It's like, or if I'm going against Mario Williams and you're going against some schmo, like I need help. It's like if there's a guy who's just that damn good, it's like I watch Aaron Donald dominate. I watch, Nick Bosa tonight, dominate. And I'm like, why would you ever leave a rookie left tackle on an edge against Nick Bosa without chipping? I'd chip on every play. I'd chip, I'd cut, I'd do every nasty dirty thing you can do to make him not want to play anymore. And screw it. This is a great question, B Mott. 2023 recruiting class. Who's a sleeper? So I would assume a sleeper is I love Jason Moore, the D tackle out of DeMatha Catholic. I think he's unbelievable. I think he's really underrated. Another guy I love is Jelani Thurman. Jelani Thurman is as talented of a tight end as we've ever had. I'm actually going to pull his highlights up. TJ, I don't know how closely you follow recruiting. I know you probably saw Arvell Reese and Bryce West last week. Are there any recruits that stand out to you in the class? And again, I'm not trying to put you on the spot. I'm just trying to, see. But I'll show you some.
Alongside Arvell Reese, on that Glenville team, you've got a handful of other guys that are starting to get some big time offers, and one of them being a cornerback. And I know that that's a position that we've really kind of circled here and said, are we doing the right things? Are we capable of stopping people when we need to? Are we able to cover down when we play a team like Georgia or an SEC Power? Are we able to come up and tackle in the second half of a Michigan football game to keep ourselves in the thick of it and being able to get a W? We did not do that a few weeks back. Hopefully the latter we're able to accomplish against Georgia in the college football playoff. But a guy like Bryce West, who has, I believe, over 25 offers, Georgia and Ohio State being two of them. I believe Bama has also offered him as well. Arvell Reese, I think, is going to come down and he will make an impact somewhere throughout his career just because he's got the ability to go sideline to sideline, step up and play the run. He's equally adept at covering. So I know that's a position that we've looked at here in the past as saying, whatever you may call it, the jack, a rover. There's a ton of different names out there. A spur, whatever it may be. A hybrid type linebacker is what I call it. A guy that can play the run equally as well as cover the pass. So you have to have a guy out there that doesn't look like Tough Borland trying to cover down on an Alabama wide receiver. Give me a guy like Arvell Reese who's got the athletic ability to stay with, let's say, a slot guy for or a slot guy or a really nice tight end or a nice four spot receiver, are you going to be able to cover down in a situation if you get that matchup? Bryce West totally impressed me. He can lock down the best receiver on the field. Not to say that the team they beat in the state championship from Wyoming, Cincinnati, um, that they had a receiver that needed to be garnered as a lockdown guy. They had a couple nice dudes. They had trouble getting them the football, but Bryce West, I think, is a dude that can come in there and compete right away. We've seen Cleveland Glenville talent come in right away, whether it was Teddy G, whoever it may have been. Cardale waited his turn. Troy Smith got his, when he pulled his number. We all know the career that Dante Whitner had, was one of the best ever to play safety at Ohio State and in the league. I think Bryce West is a guy that you want to get in there because you can never have enough good DBs, especially DBs that are tough, that know how to play a Cleveland style of football, inner city style football, public school style football that will come up, smash you in the mouth, but can also cover you 50 yards downfield. I think Bryce West is a guy that can do that. Now, he fits into the 2024 class, but those are guys, I think, when you look at the 2023 class, you've got to start to key in on guys that aren't going to get exposed in the secondary. And a gentleman, his name's Clint Scroggs, a play-by-play guy in the area up here, a guy that I've looked up to and has kind of mentored me into business for a few years. He posed a question to me the other day that, can you recruit attitude and toughness? For me, I think that's something when you go into a young man's living room or you go into the weight room or the high school and talk to that guy, sometimes you can see it right away, but sometimes you don't know if that guy's got that it factor inside of him, that attitude, that nastiness that's going to come out. And when the baddest alpha males and dogs are on the field, is he going to step up and bark the loudest? And that's really hard to say nowadays because I don't think there's as many kids that are cut like that. But when you're trying to recruit, there's got to be an element of, okay, am I recruiting a guy that's just technically sound? He's a technician. Am I recruiting a guy just based off of his size and speed? Or am I recruiting this guy because, you know what? He's going to be a great locker room dude. He's going to be a guy that on the field, he's going to be a vocal leader. He's going to be a guy that maybe when we're down by one or two scores, has the type of voice and ability to get guys locked in and get refocused. Recruiting, attitude, and toughness, that's a skill set in its own right.
I totally agree. So you guys that are watching this on YouTube right now, this is Jelani Thurman, number 2 tight end in the country, rated as a 4-star. I'd give him a 5th star. Fairborn, Georgia, Langston Hughes High School. His dad was Odell Thurman. Played a short time for the Bengals. Was, a guy that would have been a multiple-time Pro Bowler. Get a little sideways with some drug testing stuff, but his son is an absolute dog. So I love this tunnel screen concept and it's interesting because, Kevin Wilson's leaving. And I think we featured the tight ends more this year than at any point in the history of Ohio State football. But Jelani is probably the most athletic tight end that I think we've recruited, maybe since Louis Irizarry. But we just don't have guys that are built like this. And he's a really, really good defensive end too. But great hands. Like, here's a pancake. I mean, just like a nasty disposition for a tight end. Like, this is a kid that, he could contend to play next year, especially if Cade declares for the draft. Mitch Rossi's gone. He's a guy, great hands. Obviously, he can always get tighter on the routes. I think every guy can always get a little tighter on the routes coming into the college level. But I love this kid. He's my sleeper. Big Ten guy. Yeah, and RIP Coach Leach. I see a lot of that. We had another
guy, speaking again of the 2024 class, another guy off of that Glenville team, a tight end / defensive end that I believe Ohio State has offered as well, Demarion Witten. Really nice frame. Stepped in, actually, really probably could have been considered the player of the game in that state championship for Glenville. He had really never taken a whole lot of defensive end snaps throughout the year. They didn't have to, just based off of, the schedule they play, going against teams like Collinwood and some other teams up there that they're just going to manhandle. But Demarion, he stepped in there at defensive end that night in the state championship game for really the first time as a two-way starter all year. and had like, 3 or 4 tackles for loss, had a couple pressures, had a really nice game, and then caught like 250+ yard balls in the game on offense as well. So another guy, if you're kind of looking down the road just a little bit, 2024, along with Bryce West off of that Glenville team, and then Arvell Reese, who will get on campus next year. Look at Demarion Witten as well. He's a really nice 6'6", about 225-pound frame guy, tight end / defensive end.
Yeah, and again, I'm just circling. I love this kid. Like he is a nasty, nasty point of attack guy. Again, like a lot of tight ends don't want to do this kind of stuff, but he gets his hands on
That's a hell
guys,
of a
man.
base he's got on him there. He's working a hell of a little base.
I mean, look where this guy ends up. Just clobbering him. It's a double team, but still, a lot of guys don't want to do. They don't want to do that dirty work.
Where's this offensive tackle that's playing next to him going? I like him as well.
No, I know this is big time ball in Georgia, but the third passing option, got another super chat. Appreciate you for that. I would think it would have to be Julian Fleming / Cade Stover. That's something that I don't even really want to think about because after Emeka and Marvin, there's a massive drop off. I think that one of the things I believe Ryan Day wants back is the fact that we didn't use Marvin enough in the red zone, and we had 15 snaps down in the red zone. He didn't get a single target, which is almost insane to me, given the fact that he's the perfect red zone option, being 6'4", high, one of the best set of hands we've ever had in the history of Ohio State. And you think that the red zone offense would run through Marvin, and instead he's just a decoy. Which again, that's Ryan Day's. He's got great concepts, but I don't understand that one. Sometimes I think guys out guru themselves. But yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking at a couple comments coming through here again. Yisker LG, he said, and this makes some sense here. Maybe Paris Johnson needs to come back and get just a little bit more work, get polished up just a little bit more. And I mean, does that elevate you into being a top 5 pick? I've been hard on the offensive line for Ohio State all year long. And I've questioned some things that they've done. I've questioned some technique and some discipline things, some toughness things, some attitude things. But, maybe Paris Johnson does need to come back for another year. Come back and make yourself a top 5 pick. I mean, I think you're pretty much under the impression, Kirk, that he's going to go somewhere in the first round as he comes out this year.
I have a better chance of taking a cruise on the Titanic than he does of coming back for another year. So that's where we're at with that. He's gone.
Is he polished? Is he ready to start tomorrow in the NFL?
Yes.
Okay.
Have you watched the tackles in the NFL? I've never seen a worse offensive line play in the NFL. It's just like you watch the guys tonight. San Francisco has the best set of tackles in the league with Trent and Mike McGlinchey. But the left tackle for Seattle is really good. He's a top 10 pick. The right tackle, Paris would start over him tomorrow. You look at the Bengals, Lyle Collins, Jonah, he'd probably start over one of them. The Steelers, he'd start at either spot.
Where's our guy Isaiah Prince playing at?
He's on practice squad for the Bengals right now.
Okay. I mean, I look at him when he was coming out. A lot of people thought that he was going to be able to play right away, and I thought that there was a toughness and attitude factor with him as well. Just being more of a technician type guy, and being a frame and being an athlete. There's more that goes into the deal than just that, Kirk. You played the position, understand.
Well, Isaiah was a 5th round pick. I mean, he was a guy. He wasn't like some surefire guy, and he was a guy that was a 5-star guy. We flipped from Bama. I never thought he was a guy
he started a lot of games for Ohio State.
No, I know, but again, he just was, he's just so up and down technically that I didn't think he would be a day one starter. And he started the Super Bowl, and they replaced him. They signed Lyle Collins to a big deal to take his spot. This is the other guy I mentioned. This guy is an absolute monster. Jason Moore, DeMatha Catholic, 6'6", 255. He'll probably end up being 310 and being a top 10. This guy, again, I'm going to highlight him. He's playing end. He's a little thinner now. This guy could fill out with his frame and be 295 tomorrow. And he is a nasty dude. He's playing good level ball in Maryland. Obviously, Maryland's not the same level as Florida, but he is a big time guy. He's an Alabama type guy, Georgia type guy. Had an Alabama offer, had a Georgia offer. You know, there's like kind of tiers. Like when the big dogs go on guys, when Georgia and Bama and Clemson go, it's a different level than when we beat Penn State or Notre Dame, or you know, when the big dogs truly go on a guy and we went on that, especially for these big guys, big time. But this is the other guy. Again, what's a sleeper? I don't know. He's the number 8 rated D lineman in the country, so that's not really much of a sleeper. But I do love him. I love his film. I think he's nasty. I think that he's in a position of great need. That interior D line. He could probably play end. I think that his future is being a 295-pound pass rushing, like a DeForest Buckner type guy for Oregon and San Francisco. Now he's with the Colts. But big lanky dude. You know, again, I think the guys with great arm length those are the guys that are the hardest to block, just because if they can't reach the tackle or the guard, it makes life really tough.
I mean, look at Doug Worthington when he came in for us at Ohio State. Doug Worthington was, you know, he was long, he was lean, his arms were just, I mean, he presented such a challenge at defensive end. And then, you know as well as I do, Kirk, when you get on that eat, live, breathe football 24/7 when you get on campus in college, which is way different than what you go through when you're in high school, because you still got to worry about school. You've still got some other influences of friends outside of that. And then you've got guys who might be a 3-sport athlete, 2-sport athlete that takes some of your time away. This is a dude right here that when he gets on campus under Coach Mick, you know, he could put on 20 to 25 pounds really, really quick. And then you put him down at the defensive tackle spot working against an offensive guard who might have shorter arms. And I think back to, you know, Doug Worthington when he came in. Once he put on that extra 25 pounds, and Doug, I believe, was a captain his senior year, Doug was a formidable dude in the trenches for 2 seasons there for Ohio State, because he was just a mismatch for a lot of offensive guards. When he thickened out, he had defensive end speed, and he had the arms that could really just extend you, give you fits. I mean, this guy could become a 3 technique, be a nightmare for people.
And Joe Drain popped in, who's the man. And I totally agree. This is great, Joe. Jedrick Wills, the left tackle for the Browns, is one of the laziest players I've ever seen in NFL history. Bad body, no lower body strength. It just like he's a low motor guy. It's amazing because Batonio is like a pro's pro. Wyatt Teller is a pro's pro. Conklin, obviously Joe Thomas, one of the greatest left tackles that's ever lived. And then Jed is like a talented guy, but he's just so damn lazy. Yeah, and I would trade Paris for Jed tomorrow. I mean, if I could, because I just think that, you know, Jedrick Wills, with what he brings to the table with his body language and his low motor, it's almost amazing that guy was a first-round pick. It's amazing they took him over Tristan Wirfs, because when Tristan Wirfs was sitting there, that guy hang clean like 500 pounds at Iowa, broke the Iowa all-time record for hang clean, strong as an ox, you know, really proficient heavyweight wrestler in Iowa, coached by Kirk Ferentz. I was like, give me that guy, you know. And I get Jed Wills played at Bama, but you know, Tristan Wirfs, I mean, he made the Pro Bowl. I think it was a rookie or second year, won a Super Bowl with Brady. Played right tackle, so that I think had something to do with it, because he played right and left at Iowa. Plays right for the Bucks. Probably should play left, because I think Donovan Smith's terrible. But yeah, that's a great call, Joe. Good job, man. I appreciate you. I hope you enjoyed your finals getting done. Joe had a nice recruiting column on BuckeyeScoop.com. If you guys aren't on BuckeyeScoop.com, we have a ton of coverage coming up on Georgia. I was texting some of the people in the WAC today about little game plan stuff, not a lot, but I've got little thoughts on Georgia, and I have a lot of time to study film. I don't go out recruiting. I don't do any of that BS, but I can see a lot of stuff. Shout out from Alaska. What's up, my man? St. Ed's grad. Congrats on the state championship. Oh, you went to school with Alex and Troy. Well, Troy was at Ed's for about 5 minutes. I think he knocked a dude out on I think it was on the opposing team, or it was a St. Ed's guy in the basketball. He got kicked out and had to go to the Ville. But
you can't do that at those Catholic schools.
No. The pass rush get home against Georgia, that is a huge question. There's been a lot of talk about their tackles being dinged up, potentially not playing. I think that's all bullshit. That's all smoke. There's no way that they're not going to be playing against us. But our pass rush has been disappointing this year. I mean, I'm not going to lie. Like, JT Tuimoloau had the huge game against Penn State where he played against a right tackle that was terrible, and the quarterback threw him a couple picks. The one, obviously, he dropped into the zone, caught it easy. The second one, he made a fantastic play where he batted it in the air and snagged it. But I think the pass rush is going to be the story of the game. If we can get home and affect Stetson Bennett, and Stetson's a mobile guy. Like, I mean, he's a lot harder to go against than CJ. He's not a statue. He moves around back there. Yeah, I mean, it's going to be the story of the game is how do we match up? Do we play some of these young guys? Do we play Tyleek? Is Mike Hall truly healthy to play as that undersized Ed Oliver type nose? He's a guy that, I mean, our two leading sack guys on the year were Jack Sawyer and Mike Hall with 4.5 sacks, and they both played like 15 and 17 plays against Michigan. So, I mean, they don't play a lot, but they're proficient when they're in there, and they get, they're productive. But, they got to get the snaps. They got to get 35, 40 snaps instead of 15, and some of these other guys need to play a little bit less. But that's on LJ. He's been doing it for a long time. Your thoughts,
Right.
TJ?
I mean, the flip side of the coin too is I'm looking at our offensive line and the opportunity that's ahead against going against a first team All American and Jalen Carter.
Oh, yeah.
When you come off of having a performance lackluster, especially in the second half against Michigan that you did, the best thing that you could possibly have happen, and I hope that this is the mindset in the offensive line room right now, is that we have a chance to go out there, and if we can dominate and impose our will against a first-team All-American at defensive tackle, that rights a lot of wrongs. I talked about that earlier this week on the podcast with Ryan McClincy, and some guys could go into this thing saying, "Ooh, I'm a little worried about how we match up, how Matt Jones might match up, or how Donovan Jackson, whoever." I mean, obviously, if you're looking at an offensive line, as Bill Green graded me out the other day, the weak link, that's where I would put my All-American defensive tackle. I would try and expose your weak link. So line them up over the right guard, see what type of mismatch you can get, and see if you can take advantage and ding some holes in the offensive line for Ohio State. But this, to me, I mean, I would have had this thing circled every day, looking at it, saying, this is my opportunity to show the entire world, that's all the eyes of college football in the world are going to be on me that night, going against this defensive tackle who's a first-team All-American. This is a chance for you to right a lot of wrongs and kind of get this ship going back in the right direction.
Yeah, I think the interesting thing with that is, what do we get out of Matt Jones? How healthy is he? I mean, he was on crutches after Maryland, so serious injury.
We have really talked about that. Do you just stick and roll with Fryer? I mean, at times it's looked like with Fryer in there, I've liked the way we've looked better.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that it just depends on how much Matt can give, because Matt, he had a bad lower body injury. He had no power coming down the stretch. He got bullied a lot because he's playing with a bad injury. And if you don't have your power, you don't have your power. Like, you don't have your power from your base, then
you can do, man.
Yeah, you're when you're playing against
at that point you have to tap out, and you got to say it's better for the team to have Josh Fryer in there, because Josh Fryer at least has his power. That's it.
I mean, and the hard part with Josh is he's been a tackle for most of his career. He played guard before they did the musical chairs where they moved DeJuan to right tackle, Thayer to left guard, Nick Petit to left tackle. I mean, Josh Fryer was in the running to be the starting left guard before they did that. And they basically said, well, we're going to roll with DeJuan, because the thing you got to remember with a lot of these moves, and this is something people don't really get with the portal, is like, if you don't play Paris last year, even though he's not a true guard and he's a tackle, he could have transferred to Georgia or Bama or somewhere else and said, look, I'm out. See ya. It's been real. Like, I appreciate you guys, but I want to start this year. I mean, I'm on a 3-and-out plan. Paris Johnson had a plan. His plan was to come to Ohio State. He's got a great charity, gives to homeless veterans, all set up. Graduate in 3 years, be an All-American, and do charitable work. and be a first round pick. And guess what? He's done 3 out of the 4. The only one that's left is to be a first round pick. He graduated this week. He's got a first team All American. He was made 4 first team All American. He's got a tree. So he's a guy that he had a plan. He executed it. And if he doesn't play last year, he's gone. And again, that's not from Paris, but I just know the mindset of some of these kids. Some of these kids are a lot more mature than others. I mean, he came here as a grown man, ready to play. The first spring he was there as a true freshman, his first spring, he was running with the first team, rotating in at right tackle as a true freshman. First week of spring ball. Like, think about that. Like, I mean, how many early enrollees do you ever see run with the ones during the first week of spring ball?
Reese Claret was the only one I ever saw.
Well, yeah, and again, that's the most supernatural human being of all time. Like, so, and again, it's a lot easier to do that at running back than it is at offensive tackle. So you got to, I mean, that's just like a freaky. And if you're Ted Ginn and you run at the Z receiver or the flanker and you're running deep routes, like that's one thing. But you're playing right tackle against men. Like you're playing against Chase Young, and you're playing against grown men. Or excuse me, that 20 group of Jonathan Cooper, who starts for the Broncos now. Like you're playing against dudes, so it's it's different than college. But I mean, he went in there and he was fighting and playing hard, and and then he just developed and he's not scared of anybody. So that's why I think he can start in the league. TJ, your thoughts on the number of carries for Dallin Hayden versus mine? Again, appreciate that, David. Another super chat. How would you split up the carries for the running backs? Trey just had surgery, so he's out. Toss this on the broadcast real quick. How would you split the carries up between the running backs? And you can throw Chip in, because Chip was our leading guy against Michigan, which that'll eternally blow my mind how we played Chip over Dallin after Dallin he was the offensive player of the game against Maryland, and all of a sudden we just throw Chip in. And again, Chip did fine. He wasn't the reason why we lost. I mean, but he had 1 carry going into the Michigan game, and they turned him into the feature back, which, again, that's strange, but it is what it is.
Yeah, I'll answer that one, and there's another one I want to answer off the board there before I gotta tap out and boogie out here, man. But for me, first of all, I think it's kind of a slap. When you come off of the performance that you did against Maryland, and even some good meaningful carries against Northwestern, we knew that we were banged up. We knew that there was something going on with my end, and that Trev was going to be over on the sideline, with the boot on. He wasn't even dressing, I think, for a handful of those games. But it's difficult, and I know there's been some things that have come out there that have said that the Tennessee Volunteers are trying to throw some money at Dallin to maybe get him to transfer to come down there. I know that there's another avenue of NIL and the transfer portal that we haven't really thought about when this first thing all came to light, was poaching people off of other people's teams when you might not be getting the respect that you deserve. I mean, if I'm Dallin Hayden and all of a sudden I go ahead and I have a 100-yard rushing game for let's call it the number 2 team in the country as we're heading into Michigan week, and then all of a sudden I get some junk carries against the Wolverines and we end up losing in a lackluster second half performance, and Chip Trayanum, a dude that hadn't gotten carries all season long, he's getting them over me. Yeah, I'm pissed, dude. I got an issue with that. And if somebody comes over and starts saying, hey, here's $1.5 million, here's $1.5 million reasons to transfer out of Ohio State, come down to Tennessee, we want to have you be our featured back, I can see where that's another way that NIL and the transfer portal is going to completely change the landscape of college football, because things like that will go on. That's how business works. That's how money works. That's the attraction of it. So I think the way you split carries going into this game, you continue to have to force people to have to think about Diamante, because when Chip gets the ball, he knows what to do with it. He's been there before. With the state championship pedigree at Hoban, from what he did at Arizona State, he had no carries coming into that ball game, and then boom, you throw him in the backfield, tell him which way to go. He knows how to take the proper first steps. He knows how to carry a counter fake, whatever it may be. He knows what gaps, what holes to hit. He knows how to be patient. He knows ball security and vision. So I love the fact that you mix him in there. But what do you do if you've got a healthy number 32 coming back into the fold? What do you do with Mayan Williams? How do you work him back into the fold if he's available? Dallin Hayden's a guy that I think is going to be sitting back there at the number 3, number 4 spot saying, yo, what about me and the 100-yard game that I put up for the Ohio State Buckeyes? I did my part. I earned some reps, and now I'm not getting them. I think that's where you're going to see a guy like him potentially leave this ball team. The last question I want to answer is for Chris Travers. Yeah, I have been overly critical on the offensive line this year. And I think a lot of that does go back to maybe having to change some drills. I can't sit here and tell you that I understand or know what Coach Fry's system is because I haven't spent enough time around the program or practices to be able to do that, nor do I know if I want to because I think I might be disappointed in what I might find out. But I think there has to be an effort, which Kirk will tell you. We always did this. There was 15 to 20 minutes every practice that you started off doing certain things to be able to work your feet and your hands and your leverage and your hips all together. We called them hat and hands. We did the shoots. We did the sleds. We did the board drills. There's old things that will never change that you have to do to be able to have those proper things unfold when the ball is snapped, for you to keep a base, for you to be able to work a double team, a combination block the right way. And Kirk and I did that probably as good as anybody in the country when we were doing it at a high level. And there's a huge technique when it comes to combo blocks and how you work to the second level. I think that there's small footwork stuff that they could try and brush up, whether that's 5-10 minutes of individual drills in the beginning of practice to get that stuff dialed in, because when they come off the ball at times, it's looked sloppy from the Notre Dame game all the way to the Michigan game. There has been sloppy hands and there's been sloppy footwork. And those are just small things that you work in the beginning of practice. I don't know if there's an emphasis on that. I would hope there is, but you need to get back to more of that because, you've got a pretty nasty second half of football in your system that you need to try and work out the moment you take the field against the Georgia Bulldogs, who just so happen to be the number 1 team in the country and happen to be the team standing in the way of you and, just call it destiny, a national championship. So you've had 4 to 5 weeks now to iron this thing out. I hope I see a different brand of football when the first snap on offense comes out.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I think our biggest issue is our hands. I don't think our hands are good. Like, I think when it comes to really moving guys, people don't understand how important it is, your hand placement. And, when it comes to defeating blocks, how important it is to get a guy's hands off you. Because, again, if a defensive tackle gets his hands on you, you're not going to be able to move him. I think we play too high. And again, I've got a clip of this. I got one clip of a red zone shot from the game. So this is the game, obviously. We got Paris in here. And again, I hate when he's in a 3-point stance, when he's covered by a tight end, or when he's in a 2-point. He should be down in a 3-point, more powerful. But you look at the hands of the Michigan guys. Hand in the chest, hand in the chest, hand. Our guys have no hands, and we get no push. So, we have a double team here, double team here, double team here, double team here, and it just doesn't work, And this is we call this cab. Cade's got a really tough block. He's got to block the end manned up, but you see the hands right there.
The left side of the offensive line should be embarrassed here by the push that they get. I get it. You're a first-team All-American. You're going to play in the NFL. But this little karaoke step that comes out of that 2-point stance, you mentioned it. There's no power. There's no way to drive this defensive tackle off the ball. He's lower than you. He holds you up at the point of attack, right at the line of scrimmage. That's just stuff that I look at, man, that I'm like, yeah, dude, I get it. You got a tree in Buckeye Grove, but for a left tackle right there who's supposed to be starting in the league, going to be a first-round draft pick, I know that you're high on him. That's junk right there to me.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, and again, it's a game of inches. But when you don't get the hands of the guys, and they get their hands on you, and they stand you up on a double team, pressure. And you're high, and DeJuan's not physical. And again, I'm not going to run this whole thing because, I'm not trying to get dinged for a copyright. But I've watched this film, and I'm just like, our hand placement's not good. And I think that's something that people used to laugh at Jim Bowman because we didn't hit sleds. And I was like, well, we'd hit him on Thursday, but like a sled doesn't hit back, and a sled doesn't have arms and hands. So it's like, we didn't hit sleds because we hit each other. It's way harder to block a human than a sled. Like my 5-year-old kid can go block a sled. My 5-year-old kid can't block a real defensive tackle that's moving and is coming off the ball. When we would do a live fit and it would be me versus TJ or me versus whoever, I mean, that's a real block. And it's got to be low man win. It's ultra physical. You're going to get a concussion because it's going to be helmet on helmet, crown on helmet on crown on helmet, low man win, refit your hands, and drive. Like sleds don't emulate that. Sleds are great for sleds are great.
Remember Bowles used to put handcuffs on us. We'd have these we had these
rubber
bands that would kind of go around each one, and we'd be handcuffed right here, and you would get down into your stance, and that's how you would be forced to shoot out. So because you're keeping them right here. It doesn't allow you to be high here or be too part here and allow to open up your chest. My hands are right in here where I can shoot onto your hands, keep them off that chest. But hey, brother, I got to tap out, man. I appreciate jumping on with you guys here on Buckeye Scoop. Appreciate everybody that shot the stuff over Chris and who was talking to him, and look forward to seeing you guys down the line, man.
Hey, I appreciate it, TJ. Have a good night, brother. I didn't realize how late it was. When you're having fun with this crew on here, it's fun I love doing these live shows and having. I mean, God, we get 93 people watching at 2 a.m. So really appreciate you guys tuning in. This is kind of just a fly by the wire thing, late night. Felt like talking some ball, talking some recruiting. Really appreciate you guys. Appreciate the super chats. If you guys could like the video, that would be huge. That does great work for the video. But again, love you guys to death. Thank you guys for supporting the channel. Thank you guys for subscribing to the channel. We're trying to do a live show every night leading up to the game. Just because there's so much to talk about. Signing days coming up. A lot of film to break down. A lot of players to break down. Got Georgia film to break down. There's just so much to break down right now. And I just love seeing kind of what you guys like to know. And if you guys really love this, I'm telling you guys, BuckeyeScoop.com. I live on that site all day. Nevada Buck, Bill Green. Those guys are both on little short vacations right now. They'll be back on Monday. But just appreciate you guys. They're still going to be on the site, on their board, on the phone, on their computers or laptops. But appreciate you guys as always. BuckeyeScoop.com has just been incredible. Our community is amazing. Heavily moderated, really smart people. We don't put up with much trash. So that's a little different from some sites because I just frankly can't deal with it. So we like a good, clean site, good, smart site, great discourse, great debates, great conversation. Great recruiting information. Again, we're going to have some huge interviews next week with some members of Southfield Express, Brandon Ennis, Carnell Tate, JJ Smith, some of their coaches, all kinds of great stuff coming down the pike. So we appreciate you guys as always. Thank you. Check out BuckeyeScoop.com. It is a fantastic Christmas gift. And if you could comment down below, I'd love to get some feedback. What did you like about the episode? And who's your sleeper in the 2023 class? I love that question. There's some really good players in this class. Brandon Ennis is a guy, obviously 5-star, so he's not a sleeper, but who's your sleeper? I love Jelani Thurman. I love his game. Fantastic player. He might be our best tight end that we've recruited since Ricky Dudley. So that's the guy you guys want to get familiar with. So appreciate you guys as always. I hope you guys have a great night. Talk to you guys tomorrow. Thank you so much, Buckeye Nation. Thank you, Scoop family. Go Bucks. Let's beat the Bulldogs. See you guys.